Good afternoon, and thank you very much for the invitation to join you here in such eminent company. I'd like to spend the next few minutes sharing some of the excitement and opportunities that are available through connected and autonomous vehicles, or driverless vehicles, however you prefer to call them. But before we move forward, I think we just need to step back a little bit and think about where we are today in order to look to the future and where we might be. We go back in the day. The Industrial Revolution saw us our forebears leave the countryside and head into the cities for opportunity, for work, and all the benefits that were going to come from that. In the early part of the 20th century, we saw a move the other way, when through the advancement of technology, principally in transport, in cars and in buses and in trains, the underground and so on, the opportunity came to move out of the city and to live in the suburbs, and the benefits and the beautiful things that were going to come from the opportunities to have houses out of the city because the cities were too crowded. We've now moved forward, of course, where consumer demand and the wealth that comes with it means that we expect everything to be available for us 24/7. It needs to be delivered to us, so we have an increasing level of vehicles on the road. Commercial vehicles, if you bought it, it came in a truck. There's a slogan that's been around for a number of years, but it's true, and the vehicles are used to deliver the things that we in society want. So actually, what these things mean to us essentially are a level of independence, the ability to move around and do as we wish, the access to goods and services at any time we like, and the ability to be anywhere at any time. In theory, of course, but life has ups and life has downs. And whilst we talk about the upsides and we see the benefits that's happened from all that opportunity, of course, today things are slightly different. Quick look at the stats. There are 40 million driving license holders in the UK today, 40 million. And to match that, there are 34 million cars on the road. So almost one-to-one. Nearly everybody in the UK who has a driving license could, in theory, have a car from the fleet that's available. Think about the street that you grew up on, or your parents grew up on. Remember pictures that you might have seen with maybe 2 or 3 or a dozen cars in the road. Go down that road today, and you will see the streets packed with cars and perhaps room for one to go down the middle. Perhaps the front wall's been knocked down, and in front of the house a car park's been created because there are just so many vehicles on the road. If you live in a rural community, the reality is that probably the passenger car is your only viable form of transport, or perhaps motorcycle, but realistically, buses and the public transport infrastructure isn't capable of delivering you if you've got a commute or you've got to move, you've got a job that you need to be there at a particular time. If you're in a suburb, suddenly we're into long commutes. Now it's hours in the car every day. So the vision and the joy of living in the suburbs and commuting into the city, all gone, streets clogged. And in our cities, it's the fight every day. If you live in a city, probably your biggest enemy is your neighbour as you try and get the parking space outside your house before they do next time. So the dream that's been enabled by technology and transport technology has perhaps turned the other way. So we have a paradox where the independence that came with the transport technology has been restricted and turned around, and actually it becomes oppressive. The access to the places and goods that we've got because of the technology, home deliveries and all the rest of it, it's no longer quite so easy to get around. And the time that we were going to gain, spending time with our families and friends because we can commute easily in and out, has also been lost. So looking forward, we should remember where we've come from and the opportunity we have going forward. That's as a society. Now let's make it personal. Let's do a little test. I did this myself based on John Elkington, who in the 1990s came up with the triple bottom line, which you're all familiar with: social, economic, and environmental benefits of sustainability. So I did a little sum to look at in the 1990s how I was getting around in the late 90s with a V8 petrol engine car. And if we look at that from a triple bottom line perspective, I was commuting 4 hours a day in and out of London, which from a social perspective is pretty grim. It's not desperately pleasant sitting in traffic for 4 hours a day. From a financial perspective, it wasn't great because it was costing a lot of money to run the vehicle, and from an environmental perspective, it wasn't great either because of the emissions coming from the vehicle. But overall, that vehicle sat on the drive or in a car park for most of its day doing very little. About 13% of its time, it was actually doing something useful. So how does that look now in 2018? I'm driving a diesel vehicle, which has benefits, and we could debate that subject in its entirety for a long time. But at a high level, I no longer commute for 4 hours a day. I use it about half an hour a day. I travel on the train. So socially, I'm feeling better, and it's probably better for everybody. Environmentally, you could argue it's better. But from a financial perspective, whoops, 6% utilization. So 94% of its time is now spent doing absolutely nothing, apart from helping the finance company. So look to the future. The opportunity, the exciting future for me and for you, and you can do the sums yourself, is an autonomous vehicle. It's going to have a low-emission platform, EV, hybrid of some sort perhaps, and I'm looking forward to 100% utilization, because you know what? I'm not going to buy it. Somebody else is probably going to own it. Maybe I own it, maybe I sublet it. But what I'll get is what I'm paying for is what I'll be able to use, and I'm very much looking forward to that day when it comes along. But what's in it for you? What's in it for society? Not just the personal, how are we going to benefit from the opportunities that connected and autonomous vehicles are going to bring? Well, I think we can see quite clearly new technology, which we are very good at in this country, will give us an opportunity. The surveys and the analysis suggest that by 2035, there will be something like £28 billion worth of opportunity in the UK for connected and autonomous vehicles, sales of products. But within that, nearly £3 billion worth of R&D development and the development of the components that go into those connected and autonomous vehicles. So immediately, there's an economic benefit. It's unlikely, of course, there'll be a straight swap for current vehicles. There'll probably be some different business models, and we talked about mobility as a service and new ways that we could look forward going that way. But new models of usage and new models of ownership enable what we're really good at in this country, which is innovation, ideas, moving things forward. And so actually, it's a really clever future and a bright future that lies ahead. In terms of travel, connected, thinking of the connected and the autonomous vehicle, connected enables us to link into smart infrastructure. Traffic lights, the vehicle knows when the traffic lights are changing. It's able to talk to the other vehicles, talk to the street infrastructure, create better efficiency as you're moving forward, better use of the road space. Don't need to either huge gaps between the vehicle in front or small gaps. The vehicles will work together to create efficiency in fuel usage as they move along. That balanced traffic flow. If at the moment you're sitting in traffic and you hear an emergency services vehicle, which way is it? Well, actually, connected and autonomous vehicles can move out of the way and enable the vehicle to get through. So smart use of the clever stuff that we're really good at will give us a great future and opportunity to move forward. And then, of course, there's the societal benefits that we really need to recognize. There's changing demographics in this country. There's the 25 million non-driving license holders in this country who so far, who are unwilling or unable to drive, now have access to personal transport and the opportunities that come from that. Connected, of course, to the safety benefits that are linked to vehicles that are controlled and working together to optimize use. So altogether, we're talking about an improvement in air quality. We're talking about an opportunity to improve safety. We have new business development for something that the UK is very good at. And of course, we come back to that independence and time model. So very quickly, if I may just briefly give you something to think about, what is it we're talking about going forward? We're moving away from the current model of vehicle usage, whether it be car or van, which is fundamentally about the convenience of driving and driver control, more towards something we're talking about the quality of the journey and the time that goes with it, combined with the benefits of safety, mobility, efficiency, and productivity. There's a lot to go at, and in the UK, we're geared up to do that through work with the government aligned with policy, through the industrial strategy with industry, and we'll see by 2021 the moonshot. It's very clearly stated the government wants to see self-driving cars on the road in just over 2 years. Doesn't mean everything, it means we have an opportunity to do something special. We have the resources to do such, And at Meridian Mobility, our role is to enable that to happen, working with partners across the UK. Thank you very much for your time.